My name is Romy Sipek. I am a professional dancer and showgirl, and I am in Paris. So I moved to Paris after I got a job as a dancer. I got the job in January, and I had until March till I moved. So I went back home to the UK after auditioning here. I had to sort out my visa, an apartment, and both those things were a little bit tricky. The UK visa is fairly simple to get, but it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of faff, and yeah, having to go into multiple different centres. And then finding an apartment was pretty tricky, especially because I've been here 2 years now, and last year when I moved was the year of the Olympics. So as you can imagine, house prices were through the roof. People thought they could charge what you wanted. I actually looked at an apartment and put in the dates that I was going to be there, and it gave me a ridiculous number because the 1 month of the Olympics, they were charging, I think, 4 times the amount of rent just for that 1 month. But I actually ended up getting an apartment through a friend of the directors, so that was okay. I feel like being as tall dancer as I am, the world of showgirl has kind of always been part of my dreams and aspirations. Obviously, the Moulin Rouge is so incredibly well known in Paris, and I think is a lot of showgirls would say is the dream before auditioning. I always thought it was a really cool show to do. It's a lot smaller than the Moulin Rouge, but it actually was meant to finish in end of 2023. I was working with the previous Meneurs de Revue after it closed. It just so happened that they announced that they were coming back for a 2024 season. I kind of thought, wow, well, this is my chance. So I came in the January after working in Germany to audition, and yeah, got the job. I think first impressions for French people is a tricky one for me because on first impression, I would say they're quite blunt. Maybe blunt's not the right word, quite set in their ways. They do things as they like and they don't really care about other people not from France. But I will say that was just a first impression. I actually don't think French people that I've met are actually like that now. So the French language I have a love-hate relationship with. I actually learnt French, I feel shocking to say this, but I learnt French in school for 8+ years. And honestly, at GCSE level, I was pretty good, if I do say so myself. But coming into France, I was very quickly humbled. And having not learnt it in quite a few years, I think I stopped learning when I was 16. It was quite a shock. French people speak very quickly. I'm sure us Brits speak very quickly too, but especially when you're hearing a foreign language. But I've tried to use what I know. And I think what I've learned about the French language and about French people with their language is they appreciate you trying. Even if you don't get it right, they appreciate you trying instead of just coming in with English. But I remember the first thing I wanted to do, because we're in such an era of TikTok and Instagram, I had already seen 1,000,001 things I wanted to do, try. But the first thing that was on my list in 2024 was to try the crookie from Maison Louvard. It's like an iconic place and it does this croissant and cookie combined. And I think it must have been just before I moved, it became famous. And that was the first thing I did, was try the crookie. And it was delicious. It was very good. One thing I struggle with in French, I'd say when I speak, I know basic verbs, phrases. Can I do this? Can I have this? Where is this? But all the in-between words, so I find myself getting stuck at words in conversations because I don't know a lot of vocabulary, I think is my issue. What comes easy? I think not overthinking it. I think when I don't overthink, I can actually speak more than I think I can. I think I get a bit inundated with doubt of oh, don't want to be embarrassed, or I don't want to get judged, or when actually you can make yourself understood. A couple of things, some in a good way, some in a neutral way. The first thing is for sure, no one wears activewear. No one. I live in London. I go and take a dance class. I'll probably spend the majority of my day then in leggings, or I'll go to the shop in leggings and a sweatshirt. People here do not do that. People dress, I won't say dress to the nines and in heels and everything, but people look very stylish. People look put together. So it was actually the other day I was out and I was in activewear around Montmartre, and I quickly felt very insecure and uncomfortable because no one else was wearing activewear. Some people pop to the shop in their pajamas in England, actual pajamas, checkered stripe, you know, with their slippers on. So no, dressing like nicely, I think, is something. And then a kind of a cool thing that I've learned is this whole like shop fresh. Here in shops, you know, you go to your local boulangerie, you go to your fruits and veg stalls, you kind of do everything separate. I think in the UK, we have this very much one-stop shop, big grocery shop for the week. You know, you go to your Tesco Extra, you get everything, homeware, you know, groceries, clothing even now, like toiletries, all in one shop. Whereas here, people do go to the boulangerie every day. People do go and get their fresh fruits and veg every day, go to the butcher's. Like it's much more you buy for the day or maybe even the next, and that's kind of it. But I like it. It's very like fresh and makes the use of like fresh farming and yeah. As much as I will say that the French appreciate you trying with their language, if you go into a coffee shop and you try to order in French, they're very welcoming. However, I do think in situations where you have to speak a bit more French, if you went to the doctors, if you went to some sort of like France Travail Centre, if you don't speak French, they don't really have the time of day for you. So I think it can be quite intimidating if you're not super outgoing trying. So I think that can put a lot of people off if they don't know a lot or basically anything. I wouldn't say regularly used, but I've heard like wesh or mec is like a guy. I don't actually know what wesh is. People just use it in the sentence like, oh, wesh. It's kind of like, whatever, I think. And mec is like, instead of saying a man, like you'd say a mec, like a guy. And there are things that I'd say that are different, but I wouldn't necessarily find it hard to understand, I don't think. But France uses a lot of paperwork over electronic devices, which I don't think people would think is hard to understand, but it is quite crazy. The other thing that, again, maybe people wouldn't understand as much is a lot of people smoke still, like cigarettes. And a lot of young people still, like it doesn't seem to be like a taboo culture at all. And not that it is in places in England, but I think overall it kind of is, and it's definitely on the out, whereas I think here it's still very normal. In Paris, even friends I've made recently that are my age, they all smoke and it's kind of the normal thing. Whereas like at home, I think if I was to smoke around any of my friends, I think it would be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, that's not good. It's not good, you know? I have experienced a faff. I actually got scammed for my apartment this year before I got my apartment now that I live in. And I would say I'm someone that's quite, you know, with it in terms of looking out for scams, being quite sure. But I think the desperation got to me a little bit and I decided to go with this person who ended up scamming me out of a lot of money, actually ended up providing fake formal France documents that I even showed to someone in France who was French and said, yeah, I would think this is legit too. Proving that they were a renter, proving that they pay tax, proving a company that does not exist. And yeah, and they got away with it and I lost the money. In retrospect, I wouldn't have at all said it was okay to, so I basically ended up, I did the one thing they say you should never do, which is send money before you've seen the place. And in hindsight, I shouldn't have sent the money, but I was actually coming for an appointment to see the place 2 weeks after. So, but the place actually didn't exist in Paris either. It happens, and you know what? I think that I needed that because if I hadn't experienced that, I wouldn't have then been as grateful when I found my place. And it literally was the week after that happened, I found my place now. And I love my apartment now, so yeah. De la vie. It goes without saying, I love Paris more than England because I think the French culture and their system surrounding work-life balance is so much better. The sociability, the seeing friends, the hours you spend outside work to French people are equally as important as work. And I really respect that. And I think it's so much better for mental health and well-being in general. So that's why I would recommend France to people.